Hello, Facebook! This is Mike Race, your creative organizing consultant, and today's topic is simple guidelines to living clutter-free. I'm going to talk about literally the basics of organizing, the difference between being organized and not being organized. So, with these few guidelines, you can start to shape your space so that it functions best for you. So the first thing is immediately obvious, and that is you can't have more stuff than you have space for. So the amount of space you have available to put things should be not equal to, but greater than the amount of stuff that you have. And I don't mean like floor space. People that are using their floor for anything other than walking or holding furniture, it's probably not very functional. So it's not that you literally have space to shove things, because that's where clutter comes in. We're talking about space that's functional. Functional, and there's enough space so that you can see and use everything properly. So it really comes down to, if you have too much stuff, then you either need to get more space or get rid of some stuff so that the amount of space you have to put these things is greater than the amount of stuff that you have. The other thing about space and stuff is visual space. So we often have like closets with doors and drawers and all sorts of things to like put things away out of visual space, which is rather good for the most part. You also want to make sure that things are visual so that you can see everything that you have at once, so you can properly choose what you need. Now, when it comes to visual space, I wanted to take an aside to talk about the fact that clutter, there has been scientific experiments or labs or what have you that talk about the effects of clutter in your visual space on your productivity or your emotional state. And there's two things. One, this is less science. One is that your space that you have control over often reflects the internal environment. So your external and your internal environment often reflect each other. So if you are stressed out and discombobulated and scatterbrained, then your space may reflect that. You can even see that in a simple thing like not making your bed that day because you just woke up wrong or what have you. So the visual space is reflective. So often when you go through and clean up and declutter a space, you're also doing a lot of internal work, not just external work. But doing the external work is a really practical way to start making an impact on the internal work that you might need to take care of. So the other thing about putting things away in space and whatnot is that it is so important that there is an ease of access. And let me go into detail about that. An ease of access does not mean throw everything on your dining room table so that when you need something you can just shuffle through the stuff on your dining room table to find it. That's actually not all that accessible. Just because it's immediately in your way doesn't mean it's accessible. What I mean by accessible is that you should only have one step, if you can help it, one step to obtain and to put away whatever items it is that you're trying to use. So what I mean by that is you should be able to open a drawer and grab your silverware and start using it to eat. You should be able to open your closet and see all of your clothing and choose your outfit. If you are making extra steps between you and the stuff, the likelihood that you're going to use that stuff decreases immensely. So if you have to now go to a totally different space, open up a drawer, and then open up a container, now you've got an extra step. Now, it might be impossible to make everything one step. Often some people will store things in an attic, in a bin. So you have to take the stairs down, you have to go upstairs, get into the bin, blah, blah, blah. But the point is to make access to your stuff super, super easy. And this line is often crossed very easily when you just start like putting things on shelves and whatnot. You're actually making an extra step for yourself if you put a bottle of Windex in front of your bottle of Pledge. Now you have to move the Windex to get to the Pledge, which is an added step. Now this is just an example, but many people will maybe even store things in a trunk, but then they put something on top of the trunk. Now you're never going to get into that trunk, or at least it's going to take a lot more effort and motivation for you to remove the stuff off the trunk to then open the trunk to get into it. And it might seem kind of silly, but think about it. Whenever you're like looking for something and you're like, oh, well, it's over here, or worse, putting it away in something that has an extra step, you're probably not doing that. And if you are, you're taking extra time that you don't need to be taking to put things away and get them. So ease of access. Make sure you're placing things so that you can easily access them and easily put them away. This is like the number one reason why people can't seem to stay organized, is because they're making it harder for themselves. Make it easy. Easy of access. Also, everything in your space should serve purpose. I'm not going to go into great detail in this video about how to make a judgment on whether or not it serves enough purpose or purpose at all. I would love to talk about making judgments in another video, because that can take a lot of questioning or even sometimes emotional detachment and stuff like that. And this video is about the practical practices of becoming organized. So space has to be greater than stuff, serves a purpose, and reduce the getting and putting away to one step. You should only have to open one drawer or one door or whatever, what have you, to get and put back a thing. And be careful about putting things in front of each other. Categorical thinking is another guideline. You should put things that are like each other into the same space. I'm going to use a silly example, but your silverware should all be in the silverware drawer and not in different rooms of your house and cabinets and whatnot. Like, we put the silverware in one drawer for a reason. Same thing with your clothes. At least certain types of clothes, all of your tops or whatnot might be in a drawer and or hung up and not scattered about throughout the house. And it makes it much easier for you to assess the total amount of something if they're all in the same space, and it gives you all of the options in front of you. If you have all of the options available to you, that's actually a creative technique, is more options means better outcomes, generally speaking. Unless the amount of options are overwhelming, then that can be disheartening. But just make sure that you're putting things that are meant to be together. There's one thing that I don't actually hear other professional organizers talking about that I absolutely love to teach my clients, and I've coined this as transitional space. So even if you got 100% organized, you can see everything that you own by simply opening a drawer or whatnot. Like, you don't have anything else stopping you from accessing your stuff, and all the stuff that you have is serving a purpose, and etc., etc., and the amount of stuff does not exceed the amount of space that you have. Transitional space allows you to receive items. So you get organized, but you're not going to stop accumulating stuff. That's just the way it is. There's either gift giving, I mean, mail, you're gonna get mail. You're probably gonna buy more clothes. So like, you're gonna continue to get stuff. And the best case scenario is that you already know where the stuff that you're receiving is going to end up, so that you put it away immediately when you get it. So you got yourself some new clothing. Maybe you want to wear it once before you put it away. I don't know. But you put it away in your closet with the rest of your clothes. However, not everything falls into a very simple, straightforward category. So it might take some time to figure out how you're going to integrate this new thing that you've obtained into your space and into your life. So transitional space is a dedicated area that you place items you're unsure of where they go. Now, the reason I preach this is because if you don't have a dedicated area, then your whole house becomes transitional space. You come in the door, you throw the stuff on the dining room table, soon enough you have nowhere to eat. I've seen this multiple times. So your dining room table should not be your transitional space. You need to find a space that is solely for receiving. So this space is not for eating, this space is not for crafting, this space is not for working, this space is not for sitting. This space is specifically designed and dedicated to receiving items that you don't know where they go yet. If you can keep, and it's all about limiting yourself, if you can keep that boundary and that limit, you can contain the potential for clutter in one space. And I think it's important that you have a space to do this, because it's just simply not practical to think that once something comes into your life, whether it's expected or not, is going to just be organized. It's going to end up where it needs to be, because sometimes you need time to think about it. How's it going to move? Do you have to like rearrange an entire shelf to integrate this new decoration that you bought? What have you? So having a space dedicated. And now it can be a box, but I wouldn't recommend a box because boxes are often closed and forgotten. So a space that's open, that you can then sort through things, but again, make sure it's dedicated. When you're bringing something in, this is the space that you put things, not, you don't put it on your dining room table, and you also don't use the space for really anything else except for receiving items. I have a transitional space, and I love it very much. I'll put temporary receipts there or something like that if I might want to return something next week. I'm not sure about it. Maybe there's like packaging or a user manual that I just want to make sure that I've set up my equipment correctly, and then I can get rid of the user manual because I can look it up online anyway. Things like this. Or just simply things you're just not sure where to put it yet. So transitional space. Huge fan of transitional space. Definitely utilize it. So let me talk about, I have a little bulleted list here of reviewing the things I just talked about. I have 5 key guidelines. Number 1, make sure your space is greater than the amount of stuff that you have. 2, make sure that your stuff serves a purpose. More on that later. 3, accessibility. Make sure that there's only one step, if you can help it, to grab and or put back items. 4, utilize transitional space for receiving items, and keep that space limited. And if you exceed that space, it's time to start figuring out where to put things. And categorical thinking. Make sure you keep things together that are meant to be together. So those are my guidelines. The reason I wanted to talk about these basic guidelines is I'm doing the 12 days of tidying, which is my kind of gift to you. I've done research on items that can help you get more organized. These are products that just simply expand the amount of space that you can utilize. What's cool is literally the same square footage can become more space if you separate it. Or if you, like today, I posted the shoe organizer that goes on the back of a door. which the back of a door may not have otherwise been utilized. So if you're struggling with space and you need more space, consider following the 12 days of tidying, because these objects, or these products, are intended to increase the amount of functional space in your space. Mostly, that's mostly what's happening, because you're not purging things, you're buying things, but you're buying things that are going to give you more space to put stuff. So follow that. It's a really great way to maybe jumpstart getting things organized, especially if you feel you can't afford to hire me, but maybe you just need some things in your life that allow you to put them away. So that's what the 12 days of tidying is all about. Visual space is so important. Make sure it serves a purpose. Make sure it has accessibility and you can get to it, to and from. And transitional space. Huge fan of transitional space. If you don't know what to do with it yet, have that dedicated space so you can, at your own pace, work through those things. Okay, I think I've gone through most of the stuff. Yeah, those are the basics. If you're looking for more tips, of course, continue to follow me on Facebook Live. But I'm also starting a monthly newsletter, which will be coming very, very soon. So keep an eye out for that. You can sign up for the monthly newsletter and you'll receive tips right in your inbox. And they'll be, nicely written out with examples and et cetera, so that maybe it's easier to follow than a video. I'm not sure. But they'll be good tips. And my intention is to spread the joy of decluttering, organizing, keeping things tidy, and this newsletter is just one more way to help people for free. So please take advantage of it, and I appreciate you hanging out. That is Put What, Where, Why, and How. Have a good day.